It is Friday, November the 14th.
This is The Warning.
It is a sordid and disgusting day in America. Let's start with Megyn Kelly, who was paid $50 million by NBC to never ever appear on television again because of this.
But what is racist? Because truly, you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface for Halloween, or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Back when I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing up as like a character.
But dime store racism isn't the subject today. Child rape is. Russell Brand is a predator, a whack job, and somebody that Megyn Kelly, well, let's hear it in her own words.
I don't really care if it turns out that the rape charge or the sexual assault charges fall apart. You're 31 years old and you have sex allegedly over a 3-month period with a 16-year-old. We're done. I'm unsubscribing. All right. And I am sick of conservatives online trying to defend that as though she had a role in it. She was a minor. Just because you can't be prosecuted for it doesn't mean it's right. The conservative men I know are lovely. They're ethical. They're honorable. It's not to say they've never fallen down in their lives, but in no world would they be taking advantage of a 16-year-old minor. I have a daughter who's 4 years away from that. You come anywhere near her as a 31-year-old man, and we are going to have a serious problem. And it's not going to be over whether you get demonetized on YouTube. Yes. I really hope my friends on the conservative side of the aisle would remember, just because we're all over Me Too, and it was an overreaction, and it went too far, and it got politicized, doesn't mean that we have to knee-jerk defend every scumbag who gets accused of bad behavior.
But now, for Trump, the line has moved.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby.
I can answer the question directly. What's the difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old girl? 10 years. They're both children. What's most disgusting about this is Megyn Kelly has a 14-year-old daughter. How would she feel about her 14-year-old being raped by Jeffrey Epstein, by Donald Trump? Does she believe her 14-year-old has the power to consent to the whims of some of the most powerful men in the world? Here is the Christian nationalist Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. He calls himself a Christian, but he is not. What Mike Johnson is a politician, and he's a politician who is a senior leader of an evil cause. Mike Johnson is the American Taliban. He is the real-life Handmaid's Tale's commander. And here he is denying that Donald Trump has a relationship with Epstein, despite the thousands of emails, the letters, the note cards, the photographs that prove Donald Trump and the child rapist Jeffrey Epstein were the closest of friends.
On the Epstein thing, look, we put a UC on the floor, a unanimous consent to just dispense with the discharge petition, just get it passed by everyone. The Democrats objected to it on the floor. I did that. I put that on the floor. They objected to it. If they were really about transparency and honesty and they had this great urgency about it, they would have voted to let that be done. It has never been about that. It's been about politics. They're trying to attack the president. They're trying to manufacture some sort of hoax that he had something to do with Epstein, and it is absurd. This has been going on way too long. Look, if they cared so much about the victims of Epstein, why didn't any of these Democrats who are howling and screaming and all the media types, why didn't they go for the files during the 4 years of the Biden administration? The Biden DOJ had every single one of these documents, and they never did a darn thing about it. You never heard any of these people say a word about it. They don't care about that. They care about going after Donald Trump because they have Trump derangement syndrome. It's very real, and it sort of encompasses all of Washington.
And by the way, Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, she has been moved from a maximum security prison to a minimum security club-fed facility with a puppy breeding program. The warden, according to news reports, functions as her handmaid, her servant. She gets privileges no other prisoner gets en route to her pardon by the man she has the goods on, Donald Trump. Everywhere there are abuses by the Trump administration. The assaults on the rule of law, the vengeful political prosecutions, the attempts to imprison Donald's political enemies have been well documented. The corruption of Pam Bondi is staggering. But remember, Pam Bondi was not the first MAGA nominated for the job. That person was Matt Gaetz. And there's new revelations about Matt Gaetz in the New York Times by the preeminent investigative reporter at the paper, Michael Schmidt. And what the story documents is the underage child that Matt Gaetz had sex with was a homeless teenager who he picked up after she was found at a McDonald's window. She was plied with ecstasy, and she slept with these men, members of the United States Congress, because she needed money for braces. And Donald Trump made that animal his attorney general nominee. And on Fox News, this is abided. And over at CNN, John Berman, a few weeks back, gets away with saying this about Trump.
Again, I do want to say we have no reason to think that he was in any way involved with that check itself. Also, no reason to think he's connected to any wrongdoing involving Jeffrey Epstein. You noted, you're a prosecutor, you're a lawyer here. There's this defamation.
I would say we have lots of reasons to think he was involved in wrongdoing. I mean, at this point, there's a lot of smoke. There may be some fire, but I would just push back and say I think there's a lot of reason to think Donald Trump was involved.
Involved with what? I'm sorry, what exactly, what proof do you have that he was involved with wrongdoing in regards to Jeffrey Epstein? And if that's the case, why have there been no prosecutions over 20 years here? Because there haven't really been any allegations that he was involved with wrongdoing.
Well, that's down the toilet now, isn't it, John? I wonder if there will be any revision to the story. Probably not, right? Because of the merger and the sale and all that. These people are a disease in this country. Megyn Kelly, the Speaker of the House, are apologists for child rape. They are children, and they were abused in association with the President of the United States. In the year 2025, a pedophile scandal has touched the Oval Office. And this pedophile scandal eclipses by order of magnitude the evil that was committed by the priests of the Catholic Church and covered up by the cardinals. We are talking about the highest officials of the American government here who are covering up the details of the relationship of the President of the United States with a convicted child rapist. And on Fox News and on the Megyn Kelly show, the effort, the energy is to do what? To explicate the child rapists from suspicion, from condemnation, to protect Trump. So when Mike Johnson goes on Fox or Newsmax or wherever, and he says there's no connection to Trump or Epstein, which is a lie, it's not his alone. It belongs to the producers of the segment and to the anchor and to the executives. Every one of those people is part of a chain that is complicit in being apologists for the sickest and the worst crime imaginable, the abuse and the rape of defenseless little girls by men. One of them is the President of the United States. And yet, the media that celebrates itself, people like Megyn Kelly, who hold themselves out as some type of moral voice, what side do they pick? Do they protect innocence? Do they defend the children? No, they're apologists for their rapists. And it is as sick and depraved as anything that has ever been in my 55 years on this planet, in this country, which is diseased and rotting from the inside because of the Matt Gaetzes, the Megyn Kellys, the Speaker Johnsons, the Donald Trumps. We live in a world where the Kardashians are celebrated Megyn Kelly is venerated, and child rapists, well, if they have political power, who cares, right? No society endures this type of sickness. Not for very long, at least. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning. I invite you to join this community where I promise to be honest, blunt, and direct about what is happening in this country. America is in crisis. Follow and subscribe to this channel and on Substack. Thank you.